Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the channel if you're new here. My name is Daniela and you're watching Through the Looking Glass, where we foster resilience and inspire lives. Living with a chronic illness changes everything. And there were things that I realized over time that I had to stop doing in order to survive and ultimately to thrive. Today I am sharing 15 things that I stopped doing in order to thrive with chronic illness, how it helped me, and why it may help you too. Chronic illness made me reevaluate so much about my life, how I was living, what I was doing, what I believed about myself. Stopping doing those 15 things was not about giving up, was about letting go of things that no longer served me. So number one is pushing through the pain. I used to push through the pain thinking that if I just tried harder, I would be able to keep up with everybody else. Not only that was leading to my needs not being met because I was pretending to be fine. I was pushing through the pain, putting a smile on my face. Everybody thought I was fine because that's what I led them to believe, that I was fine, that everything was okay. So my needs weren't being met. I was feeling very alone and isolated in my own experience, but also that led to more crashes. We all know that cycle where we have a good day and then you want to catch up with everything that you weren't able to do when you were down. You overdo it, that leads to another crash, and the cycle just keeps repeating itself. Now I try to listen to my body a little bit more, but I have to say that I still believe that there are times that pushing through is worth it. If it's a special moment, a special situation, circumstances where it is very important for you mentally that you participate and that you do those activities, even knowing that it's going to lead to a crash, I believe the benefit that you get mentally might be worth it. That is something very personal that each person has to decide for themselves. But I do know that for me, it's what keeps me sane and out of depression, which it is so common with people with chronic illness because there are so many limitations in our lives and we feel so isolated and so inadequate. We have such a higher risk of developing depression. So for me, doing those activities is very important. Number two is overcommitting. I used to think that I had to say yes to everything, that if I said no, people would think I was unpredictable, that they would stop inviting me, would make me weak. Now I always ask myself, do I really have the energy for this? And if the answer is no, I will say no. The people who love me, the people who understand me, will not stop inviting me because they know my situation, they know my chronic illness. So if someone is not giving you the space to heal, the space to rest that you need, then this person is not somebody that's worth having in your life. I used to push myself to the point where I could no longer continue. Rest felt like a failure, but I have learned that rest is as important as any treatment, any medication, if not more important. Rest is what allows my body to keep going. Number three is comparing yourself to others. Comparison is such a trap, especially when you're dealing with chronic illness. I used to compare myself to friends who were doing everything. The whole career, motherhood, fitness, hobbies, they did it all. And it made me feel so inadequate. But even worse than that is to compare yourself to other chronically ill people. We are all on different journeys. Their journey is not my journey. And we all know the nature of chronic illness. It has so many ups and downs. People go in remission, people go back into flares. There's good days, there's bad days. And in this day and age of social media, we're all comparing our worst days to other people's best days. So comparing yourself to what other people are doing is like one of the worst things that you can do to yourself. The best thing that you can do is to focus on the small wins, to focus on the things that you can do. You shouldn't even compare yourself to your past self, because you were not the same person that you were a year ago or 2 years ago or 10 years ago. Your body is dealing with new challenges, so you should not even compare yourself to your old self. Number 4 is focusing on perfection. How many of you here are perfectionists? Just put a little thumbs up in the comments below, because I swear that 85% of people that I know who have fibromyalgia are perfectionists. I used to think that if you were going to do something, it had to be perfect. You better do your best, or you shouldn't bother doing it. But I really changed this mindset, because perfection is not realistic. Perfection is a recipe for burnout. Now I focus on good enough. I focus on improving, and that has made a huge difference for me. Number 5 is hiding your needs. I used to think that if I talked about what I was feeling, if I complained, or if I let people know what was going on, that I would be seen as needy, complaining. By hiding my needs, it just made everything so much harder. It made me feel a lot more isolated and misunderstood. And when I say sharing your needs, I'm not saying you need to be complaining. I'm saying you need to communicate what's happening and what you need with your loved ones, the people that are around you. Number 6 is skipping meals. I used to think that skipping a meal is no big deal, especially when I was too exhausted to cook or even just eat. But it only leads to low blood sugars, irritability, dizziness. So overall, it is not a good idea to skip meals. What I have done to help with that, I started using my camping cooler, which is an electric cooler, and have it always plugged in my bathroom. And I always have water and snacks there. I'll have cheese and crackers, fruit, yogurt, bubbly water, things that I can just very, very easily reach and nourish my body. Making sure that my blood sugar levels are stable is a huge component of managing my symptoms. Number 7 is neglecting self-care. I used to think that self-care was luxury, was superfluous. But I have learned that for me, it's a necessity. What does self-care look like? That's different for everybody. For me, is having a hot bath, journaling, sitting with a nice cup of tea, nature, going for a walk in nature, going camping. This is what self-care looks like to me, but for you, it might be completely different. You need to discover what is it that refills your cup. Number 8 is saying no to help. I have always been the kind of person that have done it all, and I find it very, very difficult to accept help. But there is so much strength in knowing your limits. Whether it's letting somebody carry your grocery bags or leaning on a friend during a bad flare, accepting help has made my life so much easier. Number 9 is self-criticism. We all have that little voice inside our heads that keeps telling us, you're not good enough. You don't deserve good things. You don't deserve happiness. I have made a habit to have self-compassion, to speak to myself as I would to someone I love, to my daughters. I would never tell my children those things. So why would I tell them to myself? I remind myself that I am doing the absolutely best that I can, and that is good enough. Number 10 is downplaying symptoms. I used to brush off my symptoms to avoid worrying others, but downplaying them only delayed the care I needed. Now I am just plain honest with my partner, with my friends, with my doctors, with people around me. Number 11 is isolating yourself. Pain and fatigue often makes you want to withdraw yourself. Social interactions can take so much energy from us, especially if we're trying to put on a face, especially if we're trying to hide our symptoms. So in order to preserve that energy and to not have to keep explaining what you're feeling and what you're going through, it is quite often for people to withdraw themselves. But that only leads to isolation, and isolation leads to depression. I have learned to look for signs of loneliness or disconnection and to make an effort to reach out. Either this is in the form of formal counseling or talking to my partner or talking to a close friend. It is extremely important to feel connected and not to isolate yourself, especially when you're going through flares. And believe it or not, for me, even recording those videos, even though I know I'm talking to a camera, I know that my words are reaching people. And that in itself makes me feel so much less alone. And that leads to number 12, which is ignoring mental health. Chronic illness doesn't just affect your body, it takes a huge toll on your mind. For me, therapy, mindfulness, nature, creating art, writing, making those YouTube videos, they all help me process the emotional side of living with a chronic illness. Number 13 is overanalyzing your past. I used to spend so much time grieving about the person that I used to be and the things that I was able to do. But I have realized that I can't move forward if I'm stuck in the past. Also, a lot of people that have fibromyalgia are told that they are holding on to emotional trauma, and this is why they're not healing. So for a long time, I was trying to go back to every traumatic experience that I've had in the past and trying to work through my feelings and try to understand the situation. And honestly, it is good to do those things to a certain degree, but then at a certain point, you just need to let it go. Just let it go and move forward. Now I just focus on the person that I am now and how I'm going to move forward. Number 14 is worrying about judgment. I used to worry so much about what people used to think of me. Did they think I was lazy? Did they think I was exaggerating? Did they think I was lying? Honestly, now I don't care. I really don't care. Every now and then I get a comment on my videos, especially if it's a video where I have more energy and I'm doing, something. I get those comments like, oh, I wish I had that kind of fibromyalgia that lets me do all those things. And it really does not bother me. It really doesn't. I try to respond to those comments with compassion. That person is probably quite frustrated. She's not managing her condition well. Either she believes me or not, it really doesn't matter. What matters is how I feel about the choices I'm making and about how I am living my life. That really is all that matters. And number 15 is suppressing emotions. Bottling up emotions only makes things worse. Allowing myself to feel those emotions and processing them through healthy outlets. And to me, that is going on a hike, going camping, being in nature, writing. So if my energy levels are really, really low and I'm going through a flare, this might be doing some watercolor. All those things help me process those emotions and thus allow more room for healing. Letting go of those 15 things hasn't been easy. They weren't all done at once, but it has given me the room to live more authentically and manage my chronic illness. If you are on a similar journey, I would love to hear what you've let go of in order to promote healing. If you're still with me, if you watched this video all the way to the end and you're still not subscribed, you know what to do. I will see you guys in the next one.